We got Jim Bognet. He's a former Trump administration official considering a run against Matt Cartwright in Pennsylvania's 8th congressional district. This is a key battleground district, folks. You got to pay attention to this one. Jim, thanks for joining us here on Breitbart News Saturday.
Good morning, Matt. Thanks so much for having me, man. Really excited to be on with you. Love the sweet child of mine to get us started.
Yeah, so, you're considering running against Matt Cartwright. This is your hometown. This is Hazleton, Pennsylvania. This is Pennsylvania's 8th congressional district. Walk us through, why are you looking at running in this district? What is it about Matt Cartwright? I mean, look, he's a Democrat, but he portrays himself as a moderate. He says, okay, I'm the middle of the road kind of guy, but then again, he turns around and votes for impeachment. Walk us through your reasoning why you're looking at running for Congress here.
Well, Matt, this is the 8th congressional district up here, Hazleton, Wilkes-Barre, Scranton, and the surrounding areas. I was in Washington working for President Trump and the Trump administration, had a great job working on manufacturing, bringing jobs back to America, helping small businesses, helping the industrial heartland. But as I sat around throughout the fall and watched this impeachment farce play out, you know, my blood started to boil, and I saw it, and I just said, I don't think they're going to do this. They can't do this. The president did nothing wrong. They wouldn't plunge the country into this over something like this, and then they went and did it. And people like Matt Cartwright, who proclaims to be a moderate, but he's not a moderate. He's Nancy Pelosi's lapdog. He took his marching orders from her. They voted an incredibly partisan impeachment. No Republicans voted for it. They even lost a few Democrats. I just kind of snapped, Matt. I said, I can't sit here anymore and let this happen. I owe it to myself, my family, my town, my country. I need to go take a shot at looking at if I can put together the support to run a race, to beat Matt Cartwright, to make sure that President Trump doesn't spend the next 4 years of his second term worrying about being impeached. Because if we let them get away with this, if there are no consequences for the people that voted for impeachment, this will happen again and again in President Trump's second term.
Yeah, so I actually have here the letter that you sent in for your resignation from the Trump administration, and this was a really cool letter. I want to read part of it. You say, because you stepped down because you want to be able to publicly defend the president. The law doesn't allow federal employees to speak politically. So from it, it says, quote, impeachment, a monumental constitutional tool created by our founders to sanction criminal behavior, has been reduced to a sham, a hollow shout of vicious venom attacking a president over policy differences and political style. The Hatch Act forbids federal employees from speaking out publicly on the grave political issues of our time. It is my firm and unshakable belief that publicly defending our president and our country from an unwise, unjust, and fundamentally unwarranted impeachment must take precedence over continuing to serve as an administration appointee, unable to raise my voice publicly to defend President Trump. Therefore, I resign my position effective immediately. By resigning, I can now lend my voice, my passion, and my efforts to defending our president from a never-ending witch hunt and return to my hometown of Hazleton in the 8th Congressional District of Pennsylvania to take direct personal action, fighting to make sure that the House of Representatives will not continue to wage political war on President Trump during his second term in office. So that's from Jim Bognet's resignation letter to Chairman Reed there at the Export-Import Bank. So can you tell us, that's a pretty big thing. I mean, look, it's a cushy job in Washington, D.C. You could have stayed there and continued to work in the Trump administration, but you're like, no, I got to get out there. I got to fight.
Matt, there's a lot of jobs. There's only one president, and we only have one country. And if we let this partisan witch hunt continue, if there are not consequences for the people that voted to plunge us into this, where does our country go from there? So, there's lots of jobs, lots of time to do other things. I think this year in 2020, this is a pivotal year for our country. We're going to all have a chance to go to the polls and make a decision. Do we vote for freedom? Do we vote for the policies of President Trump and Republicans that have led to unprecedented prosperity the last few years? Or do we go back to the Obama age? Creeping socialism, political correctness run amok. We make each other enemies instead of trying to work together to do things. So I'm pretty excited. I've gotten great support as I went around to the Italian clubs, the Irish clubs, the Polish clubs, all the places that make Hazelden, Pennsylvania, Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania, Scranton, Pennsylvania great towns. Even the Democrats. My father's in a construction business. We have union plumbers, carpenters, pipe fitters, laborers. Even the Democrats are fed up with this. I had a guy at the Italian club the other night come up to me and say, "Jim, we've been arguing with each other for 30 years about politics. You're a Republican, I'm a Democrat, but I'm fed up. I had enough. I didn't vote for President Trump last time, but I'm voting for him this time because this is a sham, this is a farce, and we need to stop this." So I'm pretty excited about what we all have an opportunity to do. We have great candidates around the country running. We have Sean Parnell out in Western Pennsylvania, Matt Mowers up in New Hampshire. We can really send a message to AOC, Ilhan Omar, Nancy Pelosi. This cannot go on. We have to stop the witch hunt.
Yeah, and by the way, those are just a handful of candidates. I mean, we've been having them on in all of these key battleground districts across the country for the last several months, and I'll tell you this, there is an amazing field of candidates emerging. It might be as good or better than the 2010 class for Republicans. It's absolutely incredible. And for a presidential election year where you've got a Republican president in office, that's a big deal that there's all this talent on the Republican side emerging. But the big picture here is that Pennsylvania's 8th district here, where Matt Cartwright, the Democrat representative, represents, it's rated by the Cook Political Report, Partisan Voting Index, as an R+1 district. But this is a district that President Trump won by a huge margin. I think it was maybe even 10 points, if I'm not mistaken. But it was a big deal that President Trump won this district in a big way. And obviously, President Trump's going to be at the top of the ticket again. But for some reason, Matt Cartwright decided not to stand with the people of Pennsylvania's 8th congressional district, the people there in Scranton, Wilkes-Barre, and Hazleton, as you mentioned. But he decided to stick with Nancy Pelosi when the impeachment articles came up on the floor. And we all kept looking to Matt Cartwright. Was he going to be one of those Democrats who, like Jeff Van Drew, quit the Democrat Party and join the Republican Party over it? Nope. He was bought lock, stock, and barrel, owned by Nancy Pelosi. He voted for the articles of impeachment against the people of his district. And, what are your thoughts on that? I mean, it's pretty remarkable that he decided to just go along with it all, with the whole sham, when he knows it's not right, and the people there obviously know that it's not right. What do you think about it?
Matt, you couldn't be more right. Cartwright, he does the typical politician thing. He talks moderate when he's up here in the district. When he's going around meeting people, he talks moderate. But then he goes to Washington. He joins Nancy Pelosi's leadership team. He takes money from all the lobbyists, all the insiders. The same people that are funding Nancy Pelosi are funding Matt Cartwright. And then what does he do? He equivocates. He says, well, I'm taking a look. Who knows? And then, boom, he's right there to vote against the president, to vote against the country. We've seen this game before, but you know what? He thought people weren't watching, but we were watching. The people of northeastern Pennsylvania were watching, and we saw what he did. It was such a weaselly thing. After he voted to impeach the president of the United States, the duly elected president, he put out an op-ed where he said, well, this and that, and I hope, and maybe, and this, and whatever. So that's why I voted for impeachment. Even after voting to remove a president from office, he had the gall to say, well, I don't know, maybe. You can only have it one way. You're either with the president or against the president on whether he should be allowed to serve. I think he should be allowed to serve because he's doing a great job. Matt Cartwright will always consistently be there harassing him. This will go on for the next 5 years. Matt, can we afford to have that? Can we afford to have our president harassed and threatened by a crazy caucus of people who just want to remove him? That's their animating thing from day one. The cat was out of the bag. They said it from day one. We have a video that we're putting out later telling my thoughts on impeachment, where we show from January 20th, 2017, we show the article, Democrats considering impeachment. We could have tried to impeach Obama. We didn't do that. We had deep, profound differences with Obama. Hated what he was doing on health care. If you like your doctor, you can keep him. We disliked in such a great degree what he was doing. We never took this step, because from this step you can't return. This is saying we're going to plunge the country into constitutional crisis. I laid out my thoughts in my letter. This is unwarranted, it's unprecedented, and we will come to regret the day when they decided to do this.
Yeah, so speaking of him going back to the district and saying one thing and then coming to Washington and doing another, by the way, last year in 2018, it's 2020 now, so it was spring 2018, in May 2018, there was a big thing in Scranton, Pennsylvania. So I actually went up there and covered it in person. He was there, Cartwright was there, and it was a big parade downtown and a ceremony to remember a forgotten Marine who was killed 51 years earlier, now 53 years ago. And this Marine, Colonel Reddington, had been forgotten by a lot of different people, and so they had a medal ceremony and everything. And Congressman Carter was there. He takes his pictures, and that's great that he did that stuff. But then again, he comes back to Washington, and then he just does Nancy Pelosi's bidding. He doesn't do the kind of stuff that the people of Scranton, that the people of Wilkes-Barre. I mean, I'll tell you this. I mean, walking down the street in Scranton, talking to regular folks. Right, we hopped in a couple restaurants and bars, and saw some folks there. The regular people there, they got to be watching this whole impeachment nonsense and this whole charade, just this whole bigger charade, just more than just the impeachment, just the efforts to try to screw with President Trump, and what they're not doing while they're doing this, which is a more important thing, and I want to get to that in a minute. And they got to be saying, this is ridiculous. We send these people down to Washington to try to get jobs, infrastructure, help us with the opioid crisis, stick up for our military. They're not doing anything. They've been wasting time with these investigations. That's a big story here, is that while they're doing this stuff, what are they not doing? There's no infrastructure deal. They finally passed the USMCA because I think the pressure was so overwhelming that they had to do it. And that was great that it passed the House and the Senate with as overwhelming majorities as it did. But there's no nothing on the opioid crisis coming from the Democrats in Congress. There's nothing on health care, sticking up for health care. There's nothing on sticking up for our men and women in uniform. They're not doing anything. That's what it is. It's like the Seinfeld Congress. It's a Congress about nothing.
Well, that's a great reference, and I agree completely. I mean, there are huge issues. The economy is doing great. We're turning around the country. We're making America great again. But we still have some problems we have to deal with. You mentioned opioids. In the last 5 years, I've lost 2 members of my family to addiction issues, opioids, and other substances. And, each time you lose somebody, it's a whole family torn apart. Life's hard to put back together. It's bad up here. One of my friends is a district magistrate, and that's most of the cases are drug related, either stealing, dealing, using. I think we need severe penalties for drug kingpins and drug traffickers. If I enter the race, that's going to be a centerpiece of my platform that I'll roll out, is talking about what we can do. When people are trying to kill members of your family, you stop complaining about it and you do something about it. And I think it's time we do something about it on the federal level. Illegal immigration is a huge issue in northeastern Pennsylvania. It's taxing our infrastructure. It's sending our cities into deficits. We need to finish the wall. We need to fight illegal immigration. My first campaign I ever did was for a guy named Lou Barletta. He was a leader fighting against illegal immigration. We need to continue his fight up here in Pennsylvania against illegal immigration. I don't know, Matt, if you've ever heard of a woman named Marianne Mendoza. I met her in Arizona.
Yep. We've had her on many times, and she lost her son to an illegal alien.
Angel mom Marianne Mendoza, her son Brandon, was driving down the street late at night on March 12th, 2014. Legal immigrant, drunk, hit him head on, killed him. We will never get Brandon back. We will never put Marianne's life right. And people say, oh, it's not a big deal. It is a big deal. Every time we lose somebody to a crime committed by an illegal immigrant, that is a failure. And the Democrats, Matt Cartwright, Nancy Pelosi, the president has been pushing for enhanced abilities to crack down on illegal immigration. They stonewall him completely. They won't meet him even in the middle. to try to get more money for the border wall. So we need to finish the wall. We need to make sure no one else has to go through what these angel moms have gone through. You can't meet with these angel moms without getting choked up. It's so sad. But yet the Democrats in Congress have no problem stonewalling us.
I don't think Nancy Pelosi's ever met with the angel moms, nor has Matt Cartwright.
I don't doubt that, but I'll tell you what, they should, because they would be changed by that experience. It is literally even for people that have seen a lot, you have to walk out and collect yourself after you meet with them, because it breaks your heart.
Yeah, no, definitely. And it's not just Marianne Mendoza. It's Laura Wilkerson. It's there's so many other ones. We cover them intensely at Breitbart. I mean, the Laura Wilkerson story, what happened to her son, is just absolutely unbelievable down in Texas. All right, well, Jim Bognet, sir, really want to thank you for joining us here on Breitbart News Saturday, and keep us apprised if you decide to run in Pennsylvania's 8th Congressional District.
Matt, thanks so much for the time, and stay tuned.
All right, sounds great.